The Galactic Alliance war room was a massive chamber filled with representatives from countless alien worlds. The room hummed softly with the quiet chatter of diplomats and generals, the air thick with tension. At the center of this room stood General Threx, a towering figure whose armor shimmered with a strange living metal, scars and battle marks covering his skin like badges of honor from countless wars. His eyes glowed faintly beneath a heavy brow, radiating confidence and power. Everyone in the room knew why the council had been called. The human race, a stubborn and unpredictable species, had once again defied the efforts of the Alliance to bring the galaxy under a single rule. Threx's voice broke the uneasy silence with a loud, mocking laugh that echoed around the chamber. "Humans, you want to waste our time discussing these primitive creatures?" His tone was full of contempt and disbelief. "I have crushed entire empires. They are weak, chaotic, and insignificant. The records show them losing wars before they even start." His words were like a slap to those gathered, many of whom had seen the tenacity of humanity firsthand and feared what they might unleash if pushed too far. Yet among the council, Ambassador Kale, a slender figure from the Velari species known for their calm and wisdom, leaned forward and spoke quietly but firmly. "You should not underestimate them, General. The humans resisted the Threxian hegemony for 30 years, longer than many other species dared to fight. They have something we have not fully understood." Kale's eyes held a quiet respect, hinting at something deeper beneath humanity's rough exterior. Threx only sneered and waved a clawed hand dismissively. "I have faced the war-hardened Rothak and crushed them like insects. Humans are nothing more than dust beneath my boots. I will conquer Earth within 1 week and bring their rebellion to an end." His voice was full of certainty, and his confidence was so great that even some council members felt a flicker of doubt about the humans' chances. Still, the room wasn't completely silent. A quiet figure in the back, a historian from the Qatari race who was known for her knowledge of galactic conflicts and ancient wars, spoke softly but with weight. "Before you go to war, you should study the Battle of Stalingrad." The words seemed simple, yet they carried the force of a warning. Everyone turned to her, intrigued and somewhat confused. Threx's interest was caught, but he hid it with a scornful look. "What is Stalingrad? Some forgotten battle from a weak species history?" he asked, though a flicker of curiosity flashed in his eyes. The historian nodded. "It is one of humanity's darkest and most important battles, fought over 6 months in their past. It was a turning point where they were outnumbered, outgunned, and almost destroyed, but they did not surrender. They fought in the ruins street by street, building by building, refusing to give up no matter the cost. You should learn from it before you face them." Her voice was calm but serious, carrying the weight of history. The council murmured in agreement, and some members exchanged worried glances. Threx's confidence wavered for the briefest moment, but then his pride flared. "I need no lessons from ancient wars of weaklings," he said sharply. "I will crush this rebellion with power and speed. Humanity will fall as all others have." Yet the historian's words lingered in the room, planting a seed of doubt in many minds. Outside the council chamber, the stars shimmered cold and distant. Earth was still untouched by the Alliance's fleet, but the dark clouds of war gathered quickly. Humanity was alone, defiant, and dangerous in ways most of the galaxy could not understand. The legend of Stalingrad was not just a story of a battle, it was a symbol of unyielding spirit, survival against impossible odds, and the fierce will to protect what they held dear. Threx turned away from the council table, a shadow crossing his face. He was a warrior who had never faced an enemy like humanity before. The idea of a battle fought in ruined cities, where ordinary people became soldiers in desperate defense, challenged everything he believed about war and victory. The lesson of Stalingrad was a silent challenge, a call to respect the strength hidden beneath Earth's seemingly fragile surface. Whether Threx chose to heed that warning or dismiss it out of pride would change the fate of millions of lives across the stars. As the council adjourned, the war machines of the Galactic Alliance began to stir. Fleets prepared to leave their docks, weapon systems were calibrated, and battle plans were laid out. The galaxy watched closely. The war for Earth was about to begin, and the story of Stalingrad was the secret that might decide if humanity would be crushed or rise like a burning flame against the darkness. The day the first enemy fleet appeared near Earth was unlike any other. The vastness of space around the blue planet suddenly darkened as countless warships, sleek and alien, gathered on the horizon. Their metal hulls gleamed coldly against the distant stars, and the alien banners fluttered like ominous shadows across the void. On Earth, humanity was fully aware of the threat looming above them, but the fear was mixed with something stronger, a burning determination to defend their home. In a hidden command center deep beneath the surface, Commander Elena Drake stood before a massive holographic display. She was young, fierce, and sharp, with eyes that seemed to burn with a mix of steel and fire. Her uniform was worn and scarred, proof of many battles fought and survived. Around her, officers moved quickly, voices low but urgent, preparing defenses and coordinating the fleet. This was not a simple war. This was a fight for survival against an enemy who believed humanity was a weak, broken species, an enemy ready to end them with overwhelming force. The alien warships advanced without warning, their weapon systems glowing with deadly light. The first shots fired cracked through the silence of space, turning stars into deadly explosions. Elena's fleet, far smaller and less advanced than the invading armada, was forced to react fast. Every ship scrambled, dodging and weaving through bursts of laser fire and missile strikes. The battle was brutal from the start, with humans taking heavy losses. Yet despite the overwhelming odds, Elena refused to let her crew lose hope. She moved from console to console, shouting orders, encouraging her soldiers, reminding them of their duty to protect Earth. "Hold the line," she commanded. "We fight for every inch of space, for our homes, our families, and our future." Her voice was steady, even as explosions rocked the command center and alarms blared. The humans fought with a fierce tenacity that surprised the aliens. Their ships, smaller and faster, used guerrilla tactics, darting in and out of enemy formations, striking hard and vanishing before retaliation could come. Elena had studied alien technology carefully and found weaknesses, small blind spots in the enemy's shields and gaps in their attack patterns. She exploited these with daring maneuvers that caught the enemy off guard. But the aliens were not just machines. Among their commanders was General Threx, the war hero who had mocked humanity's strength. From his flagship, he watched the battle unfold with a growing sense of frustration. The humans did not behave as he expected. They did not crumble or surrender. Instead, they fought with a desperation that was strange and powerful. He ordered more ships forward, more weapons fired, and yet the humans continued to evade destruction with fierce skill. As the battle raged on, another unexpected threat appeared. A group of alien raiders, known for their brutal tactics and savage nature, launched a surprise attack on Earth's orbiting defense stations. These raiders were different, ruthless and chaotic, with no respect for diplomacy or rules of war. Their assault threatened to break the fragile human defenses, forcing Elena to divide her forces. She sent a squadron to hold the raiders back while she focused on the main alien fleet. The pressure on humanity grew. Civilians below watched the skies nervously, bracing for impact. Families huddled in shelters, praying and hoping their defenders would hold. The weight of the fight was heavy, but so was the courage. Stories spread quickly among soldiers of heroic acts, pilots who flew through enemy fire to protect comrades, engineers who kept the ships running despite damage, and medics who saved lives against impossible odds. Elena found herself in the middle of a whirlwind. Her ship shook violently as it was struck, alarms screaming, lights flickering. Yet she stayed calm, her mind working through every possible strategy to outwit the enemy. She remembered the history lessons she had learned, how humans in the past survived great battles not by brute force alone, but through courage, teamwork, and a refusal to give up. That same spirit lived in her crew. The battle also tested the limits of human technology. Engineers worked tirelessly to improve shields and weapons on the fly, adapting alien designs and turning them into tools of defense. Every new weapon fired, every shield that held was a small victory, proof that humanity could evolve quickly when pushed to the edge. Slowly, the tide began to shift. Elena's daring strikes created confusion among the enemy fleet. Some alien ships were destroyed, others disabled, and cracks formed in their formation. The humans were not winning outright, but they were no longer losing without a fight. The courage of a few inspired many, turning a desperate battle into a fierce resistance. Despite the chaos, Elena never forgot the stakes. She thought of her family far below, of the millions depending on her and her crew. She made decisions that were sometimes harsh but always focused on survival and victory. She knew this battle was only the beginning, that the real war would demand even greater sacrifices. Through it all, the alien war hero watched and learned. The mocking laughter faded, replaced by grudging respect tinged with anger. Humanity was not what he had expected. This fight was becoming something much more than a quick conquest. It was a brutal test of will and strength. The legend of Stalingrad whispered in his mind, the story of a fight that never ended, a battle where hope was born from ruin. As the stars shimmered overhead and the endless void echoed with the sounds of war, humanity held on. Against impossible odds, they fought back, showing the galaxy that beneath their fragile surface burned a fire no alien power could easily extinguish. This was not just a battle for Earth. It was the beginning of a war that would change everything. The battle above Earth stretched on into days, turning the space around the planet into a chaotic dance of light and destruction. Explosions painted the darkness with fiery blossoms, and the crackle of laser fire echoed across the void. Commander Elena Drake's resolve only grew stronger as she watched her fleet sustain damage, but refused to break. Every loss was a wound, every victory a spark of hope. But the alien armada was vast and their forces seemed endless, pushing humans closer and closer to the brink. One evening, as the stars glimmered faintly beyond the shattered shields, Elena sat alone in the command room, studying data streams flowing rapidly across her consoles. Her mind raced through tactical options, searching for a weakness she could exploit. The enemy's technology was advanced, but she sensed arrogance behind their strategy, as if they underestimated the will that drove humanity to fight. She recalled the words of the ancient human battle of Stalingrad, where defenders had turned ruined streets into deadly traps. Could space be their battlefield's equivalent? Could they make the void itself a trap for the invaders? Her thoughts were interrupted by the urgent arrival of Lieutenant Marcus Chen, a young pilot with a reputation for daring maneuvers. His face was pale but determined. "Commander, we've spotted an unusual signal coming from the asteroid belt beyond Mars," he said quickly. "It's a hidden base, one of theirs, I think. They've been hiding it from us. If we destroy it, it could cripple their supply lines." Elena's eyes sharpened. This could be the edge they needed. Without hesitation, Elena assembled a small strike team made up of the best pilots and engineers. The mission was risky, flying deep into enemy territory, facing unknown defenses, but it was a chance to turn the tide. As the team prepared, the atmosphere in the command center was tense. Families and soldiers alike knew the stakes were high, but the hope in Elena's voice gave them strength. "We strike fast, we strike hard, and we come home," she said, firmly. The journey to the asteroid base was nerve-wracking. Silent and cold, the asteroid belt twisted through space like a minefield. The strike team's ships darted through the rocky terrain, sensors alert for any sign of traps or enemy ships. Suddenly, alarms blared. The base's defenses had detected them. Energy turrets emerged from behind jagged asteroids, firing bright bolts that streaked toward the human ships. Explosions rocked the squadron, but Marcus skillfully led them through the hailstorm of fire. Inside the hidden base, the aliens scrambled to activate shields and launch counterattacks. The humans pressed on, their smaller ships weaving through the defenses, striking at weak points. Engineers aboard the lead ship worked feverishly to hack the base's control systems, trying to shut down its weapons before it could unleash full power. The battle was fierce and brutal, with ships trading blows just meters from rocky walls. Despite the dangers, the humans pushed forward with fierce determination. Elena's training and quick decisions guided them, and the pilots trusted each other completely. They moved like a single unit, each strike carefully planned and executed. The base began to falter under their assault. Its shields flickered, defenses broke down, and explosions tore through its core. Just as the base started to collapse, a warning flashed on the lead ship's screen. A massive enemy warship was approaching fast, drawn by the commotion. The strike team knew they had no time to escape. The big warship's cannons charged, and a massive blast hit the lead ship's hull. The ship shuddered violently, systems failing one by one. Marcus shouted commands to his team, urging them to stay together and fight through the chaos. The battle became a desperate race against destruction, each pilot pushing their ship to the limit to protect the others. Elena watched the events unfold through live feeds, her heart pounding. She ordered backup fleet units to intercept the incoming warship, buying precious time for the strike team to finish their mission. The backup fleet engaged in a fierce dogfight with the enemy reinforcements, starships zooming in deadly spirals, lasers flashing like lightning bolts. Though outnumbered, the human fleet fought with ferocity and skill, refusing to retreat. Back at the base, the strike team managed to overload the main reactor. The base erupted in a spectacular explosion, fragments of metal and fire racing through space. Some ships were caught in the blast, but most escaped just in time. The destruction of the base sent shockwaves through the enemy fleet, disrupting their supply routes and weakening their ability to support the main assault. When the strike team returned to the main fleet, they were greeted with cheers and relief. They had struck a serious blow to the enemy and given humanity a chance to regroup. Elena knew the battle was far from over, but this victory reminded everyone why they fought: for their homes, their freedom, and the future of all humankind. Yet, in the shadows of enemy command, General Threx's anger grew. The humans were proving to be clever and resilient, turning the war into something much harder than he expected. He began to study their history with new interest, searching for clues to their strange strength. The story of Stalingrad echoed in his mind, a battle fought against impossible odds where survival meant more than just weapons. The galaxy held its breath as two forces prepared for the next clash. The humans, small in number but fierce in spirit, and the alien armada, vast and powerful but beginning to doubt their easy victory. The battle for Earth was no longer just a fight for survival. It had become a test of will, courage, and the unbreakable spirit that defined humanity. After the devastating destruction of their hidden base in the asteroid belt, the alien armada found itself reeling from the unexpected blow. Their supply lines were fractured, and morale wavered among their ranks. Yet, they were far from defeated. The command ship of General Threx hovered ominously near Earth's orbit, his mind sharp with strategy and determination. He knew that to crush humanity once and for all, he had to hit them where it hurt most, right on their home soil. The next attack would be merciless, a final push to overwhelm the defenders before they could fully recover. On Earth, the atmosphere was tense but electric. News of the successful strike had spread quickly, raising hope among the people. Soldiers and civilians alike prepared for the storm they knew was coming. Elena Drake was now seen as a symbol of resistance, her leadership praised even by those far from the front lines. Still, she understood the gravity of what lay ahead. The aliens would not stop. They would come again, bigger and stronger. Elena spent long hours in the command center, coordinating defenses and training her crews. Her mind was a whirlwind of calculations and plans. She pushed her team to innovate, to think like the enemy, but fight with the heart of humanity. Using the data gathered from the last battle and the ruins of the destroyed base, she developed new tactics that focused on flexibility and deception. She knew she couldn't match the alien numbers or raw power, but she could outthink and outmaneuver them. The alien warships gathered again, their dark forms blotting out stars as they assembled into massive formations. Threx's voice, cold and commanding, echoed through their comms channels. "This is the final assault," he declared. "Crush them swiftly. Show no mercy." But beneath his fierce orders, doubt lingered. The resilience of the humans had forced him to study their past, to understand what made them fight so fiercely. It was a lesson he had never expected to learn from a species he had mocked. As the battle began, Earth's orbit became a battlefield unlike any before. The human fleet launched swift, coordinated strikes, targeting supply ships and command vessels with precision. Fighters danced through the chaos, dodging blasts and retaliating with deadly accuracy. Elena's own ship cut through enemy lines, a beacon of hope for the defenders. Explosions lit the dark space, a violent display of wills clashing on a grand scale. The aliens responded with brutal force. Massive warships unleashed torrents of energy, tearing through human shields and hulls. The deafening roar of engines and the staccato of laser fire filled the void. It was a desperate struggle, each side unwilling to give ground. Many human ships were lost, their crews remembered as heroes who gave everything for the survival of their world. Amidst the chaos, Elena received unexpected intelligence. A small faction of alien defectors had contacted human command. They were tired of endless war and cruelty, offering to share critical information about the enemy's weaknesses in exchange for sanctuary. Elena hesitated. Trusting the enemy was dangerous, but the opportunity was too valuable. After careful discussion, she decided to take the risk. The defectors provided detailed blueprints of alien ship designs, weapon systems, and even hints about the command structure. Using this new knowledge, Elena and her engineers worked day and night, retrofitting human ships and developing countermeasures. They designed weapons that could disrupt alien shields and communication, turning the enemy's strength against them. The morale of the human fleet soared, fueled by hope and the knowledge that the tide might finally be turning. In the thick of battle, Elena's ship came under heavy fire. The bridge shook as energy. Bolts struck, systems flickering dangerously. Her crew worked feverishly, keeping the ship in the fight. Despite the damage, Elena refused to retreat. Her mind was focused on one goal: to protect Earth and her people. She led daring raids into enemy formations, striking vital targets, and inspiring her crew with her courage. The fighting grew even more intense when the alien flagship, commanded by General Threx himself, entered the fray. It was a towering behemoth, bristling with weapons and shielded by advanced technology. Threx sought to crush Elena's forces personally, confident that destroying her ship would break human resistance. The two leaders' ships clashed in a spectacular duel, energy beams crossing in deadly arcs. The battle was fierce, with moments that tested the limits of human endurance and willpower. During the fight, Elena recalled the stories of Stalingrad, how ordinary people had held a ruined city against overwhelming forces, turning despair into defiance. She saw the same spirit in her crew, in every pilot risking their life for Earth. With renewed determination, she pushed her ship to its limits, coordinating attacks and defenses like a master chess player. Slowly, they began to wear down the flagship's shields, but victory came at a cost. Many human ships were lost and the fight left the fleet battered and exhausted. Still, the alien assault was blunted. Threx, for the first time, faced a foe who would not bow or break. The battle ended with both sides retreating, their forces wounded but unyielding. Back on Earth, the people celebrated the hard-won victory, knowing the war was far from over, but proud of the courage shown. Elena's leadership had proven that, even against overwhelming odds, humanity's spirit and ingenuity could stand tall. The alien war heroes' mocking laughter had faded into a grim silence, a silent acknowledgement that humanity was not a foe to be taken lightly. As the stars shimmered quietly above the planet, the galaxy watched closely. The war was entering, a new phase shaped by fierce battles, fragile alliances, and an unbreakable human will that refused to be crushed. The story of humanity's fight had only just begun. The quiet after the brutal battle was only an illusion. While humanity had managed to push back the alien fleet and protect Earth, the cost was heavy, and the war was far from over. Commander Elena Drake stood on the observation deck of the flagship, staring out into the vast blackness of space. The stars twinkled coldly, indifferent to the chaos unfolding beneath them. She could feel the weight of every lost ship, every fallen crew member, pressing down on her shoulders. Yet within her burned a fierce determination not to let those sacrifices be in vain. In the days following the battle, the human fleet was busy repairing damage and reorganizing its forces. Engineers and technicians worked around the clock, patching hull breaches, restoring weapon systems, and upgrading defenses using the intelligence gathered from the alien defectors. Each new modification gave them a small advantage, but Elena knew the enemy would adapt just as fast. They were fighting a deadly game of cat and mouse where every move counted. But something new had stirred among the humans, a growing confidence born from their recent victories. Elena's leadership had become a beacon of hope. Stories of her bravery and tactical genius spread like wildfire through the ranks, inspiring soldiers and civilians alike. The people on Earth held on to hope, rallying together to support the war effort with renewed energy. Factories churned out ships and weapons, and training camps buzzed with eager recruits ready to defend their home. Despite these gains, Elena understood the enemy was not just a force of ships and weapons. They were cunning, ruthless, and driven by a deep hatred for humanity. The alien war hero, General Threx, had not forgotten his earlier humiliation. He studied every defeat carefully, learning from his mistakes and adapting his strategies. He began to prepare a new kind of assault, one that would not just rely on overwhelming firepower, but would try to break the human spirit. While the fleet readied itself for this coming storm, Elena received a message from the alien defectors, an urgent warning that sent chills down her spine. The aliens were planning to deploy a weapon unlike any the galaxy had ever seen. It was a device capable of massive destruction, able to cripple entire fleets and devastate planets. If unleashed, it would mean the end of humanity's chance to survive this war. The knowledge of such a weapon pressed heavily on Elena's mind, but she refused to give in to despair. Instead, she gathered her closest advisors and laid out a plan. The mission was clear: find the weapon's location and destroy it before it could be activated. It was a dangerous mission, one that would require skill, courage, and sacrifice. Elena chose a small team of elite pilots and specialists, including Lieutenant Marcus Chen, whose daring from the previous battle had proven invaluable. They were to infiltrate deep into enemy territory, navigate hostile space, and strike swiftly. As the team prepared for departure, there was a mix of fear and determination. Each member knew the risks, but also understood the importance of their task. Elena looked each of them in the eye and said, "We fight not just for ourselves, but for every life on Earth. This mission is our chance to turn the tide. Go with honor." The journey to the weapon's location took them through perilous stretches of space, fraught with hidden dangers. The alien fleet patrolled heavily, and every sensor blip could mean an ambush. The team's small ships moved like shadows, relying on stealth and speed. Along the way, they encountered strange alien creatures, scouts sent to detect intruders, and narrowly escaped deadly traps set to slow them down. Each obstacle was met with quick thinking and teamwork, showing once again the strength of human ingenuity. When the team finally reached the weapon's hidden base, a massive fortress carved into an asteroid, the tension was unbearable. The fortress was guarded by powerful energy shields and advanced turrets that could obliterate any ship foolish enough to come close. Inside, unknown horrors awaited. The team had to navigate labyrinthine corridors filled with traps and enemy patrols. It was a test of their courage and skill, with every step risking death or capture. Lieutenant Marcus led the charge, using his knowledge of alien technology to disable security systems and open paths for his comrades. The team moved, silently but swiftly, relying on their training and trust in each other. Despite the fear gnawing at their nerves, they pressed forward, knowing that failure was not an option. Deep within the fortress, they located the weapon's control center, a massive chamber filled with strange machinery humming with deadly power. The team quickly set explosives to destroy the device, but just as they finished, alarms blared throughout the base. Enemy soldiers poured in, and a fierce firefight erupted. The small team fought valiantly, trading shots and narrowly avoiding capture. It was a desperate battle, where every second counted. With the explosives set and the enemy closing in, Marcus called for immediate extraction. The team raced back through the fortress, dodging blasts and fallen comrades. Explosions rocked the asteroid as their charges detonated, sending debris and fire into space. Their escape was narrow, but the mission was a success. The weapon was destroyed, and a terrible threat to humanity had been stopped. Back on the fleet, the team was welcomed as heroes. Their courage and sacrifice had bought humanity precious time and hope. Elena praised their efforts but reminded everyone that the war was not yet won. The enemy would continue to fight, and the galaxy itself was watching to see who would emerge victorious. In the quiet moments after the mission, Elena thought about the lessons of the past, the battles of Stalingrad, the human spirit that had survived unimaginable odds. She knew that as long as people like her and her team stood strong, there was a chance for peace. The alien war heroes' mocking laughter was fading, replaced by a growing respect and fear of what humanity could endure and achieve. The fight for survival continued, fierce and relentless, but humanity's resolve had never been stronger. Galaxy was watching, and humanity was ready to show that even in the darkest times, hope and courage could shine brightest. The war against the alien forces had dragged humanity into a desperate fight for survival, and after the destruction of the alien weapon, the tide seemed to shift, but only slightly. Commander Elena Drake stood on the bridge of her flagship, her eyes scanning the dark expanse of space. The stars twinkled cold and distant, yet something felt different this time. The enemy had grown quieter, but their silence was ominous. It was clear that General Threx was not finished. His pride had been wounded and his resolve hardened. He was preparing a new strategy, one meant to crush humanity's spirit once and for all. Elena knew the next battle would be unlike anything they had faced before. The alien forces had started to gather in massive fleets at the far edges of the human-controlled systems. They moved with cold precision, their warships casting long shadows like dark specters over the planets they threatened. It was a waiting game, but the humans could not afford to wait too long. Supplies were dwindling, crews were exhausted, and the losses had been devastating. Yet, hope was not lost. The people on Earth and across human colonies clung to stories of resilience and bravery that fueled their determination to fight on. Amid this tense calm, a new piece of intelligence arrived, this time from an unexpected source. The alien defectors, those who had once turned their backs on General Threx's command, returned with a message. They warned of a hidden threat within the enemy ranks. A new weapon, even more terrible than the last, was nearing completion. This weapon could annihilate entire star systems in a single strike. The defectors begged for help and offered critical details to sabotage the weapon before it could be unleashed. Elena's mind raced. She gathered her advisors, and they mapped out a daring plan to infiltrate the enemy's deepest stronghold, where the weapon was rumored to be built. The mission would be perilous, requiring stealth and precision, but it was humanity's only chance to survive. She chose a team of her best pilots and engineers, led once again by Lieutenant Marcus Chen, whose bravery had become legendary. The team was small, fast, and ready to risk everything. As they left their home systems, Elena watched their ships vanish into the darkness, knowing the dangers ahead. The journey was treacherous. Enemy patrols scanned the void, and hidden mines threatened destruction at every turn. The team relied on their training, their trust in one another, and their sharp instincts to navigate through the enemy's web of control. They used hit-and-run tactics to avoid detection, striking only when necessary, and fading into the shadows before the aliens could respond. On approach to the enemy's fortress, the tension tightened. The stronghold was heavily guarded, surrounded by a thick field of energy shields and automated turrets. Marcus led the team in a daring assault, using new technology developed from defectors' intel to disable the defenses one by one. Inside, they faced narrow corridors filled with traps and hostile patrols, pushing them to their limits. Every moment was a battle of wills, nerves, and strength. Deep inside the stronghold, they found the weapon under construction, a colossal machine humming with dangerous energy, guarded by elite soldiers and automated drones. The team worked quickly to plant explosives and sabotage key systems, knowing that failure meant doom not just for them, but for entire worlds. The alarms sounded too soon, and a fierce firefight erupted. Marcus and his team fought bravely, holding their ground as they completed the sabotage. With seconds to spare, they fled the collapsing fortress, dodging falling debris and enemy fire. Explosions tore through the base as the weapon was destroyed, sending shockwaves across space. The team returned battered but victorious, their mission a critical blow to the alien war effort. Back in human space, Elena greeted the survivors with pride. Their courage had bought humanity more time and hope. Yet she reminded everyone that the war was far from over. General Threx was adapting, growing more dangerous, and still bent on victory. The human spirit, however, remained unbroken. Inspired by the strength and sacrifice of their people, humanity prepared for the battles still to come. In quiet moments, Elena reflected on what she had learned, not just from the battles, but from the stories of Earth's past. The courage of those who had defended Stalingrad echoed in her heart, reminding her that no matter how dark the hour, determination and unity could turn the tide. The alien war hero who had once laughed at humanity was now beginning to understand the depth of their resolve. Humanity was no longer the easy target he had believed them to be. The galaxy held its breath, watching as two powerful forces prepared for the next chapter in this deadly war. But deep inside, humanity's fire burned bright, ready to fight, to survive, and to claim their place among the stars. The war had stretched on for months, and the human fleet was weary but unbroken. Commander Elena Drake stood on the bridge of her flagship, her eyes sharp and focused. The silence in space was thick, a tense calm before a storm. The enemy had been quiet for too long, and Elena knew that General Threx was gathering his forces for one final devastating strike. This would be the battle that decided the fate of humanity. The stakes were higher than ever, and every ship, every soldier, every strategy mattered. The human commanders held urgent meetings, planning their defense with precision and care. There was no room for error. Elena's mind was a storm of calculations and possibilities. The alien war hero's arrogance had been replaced by a grudging respect, but Threx was still deadly, still ruthless. The fleet was vastly outnumbered, and their ships, though repaired and upgraded, could not match the sheer volume of the enemy forces. But what the humans lacked in numbers, they made up for in determination, tactics, and a deep will to survive. Elena reminded her crew that this fight was not just about ships and weapons. It was about the future of their species, their families, and their home. As the alien fleet approached, the vast darkness of space became alive with movement. Hundreds of ships glided forward, their weapons glowing ominously. The humans scrambled to their battle stations, hearts pounding with fear and hope. The flagship's captain, Elena, sent out a steady stream of commands, her voice calm but firm, over the comms. She knew the importance of every decision she made in those moments. The fleet formed tight formations, ready to meet the enemy's charge head-on. The battle erupted with a deafening roar of energy blasts and explosions. Laser beams cut through space like lightning, and missile trails lit the void like shooting stars. The human ships danced through the chaos, dodging, weaving, and striking with precision. Elena's flagship was at the center of the fighting, a beacon of leadership and courage. The crew worked with tireless determination, repairing damage, manning weapons, and following every order with unbreakable resolve. Lieutenant Marcus Chen proved his worth once more, leading daring strike teams that targeted the alien command ships. His quick thinking and fearless action saved countless human vessels from destruction. The alien war hero, General Threx, was there too, commanding his fleet with cold efficiency. He watched the battle unfold with a growing sense of unease. The humans were tougher than he had ever imagined, and their tactics were unpredictable. The lessons they had learned from history, from the stories of Stalingrad and other great battles, gave them an edge that no technology could match. As the fight wore on, losses mounted on both sides. Ships exploded in brilliant flashes, debris drifting like deadly stars. The air was thick with tension and pain, but the humans did not falter. They fought not just with weapons, but with heart. Elena could see the faces of her crew, young and old, all united by a common purpose. Their bravery inspired her to push harder, to find ways to outsmart the enemy. At one point, the flagship came under heavy attack, and the hull shook violently. Elena's quick commands and the crew's skillful repairs kept the ship alive. She knew that if their flagship fell, it could mean disaster for the entire fleet, but the crew held strong, their spirit unyielding. The turning point came when Elena ordered a bold maneuver, sending a squadron to flank the enemy's main force. It was risky, but the move caught General Threx off guard. The human ship struck hard, breaking through the alien lines and targeting key command vessels. Explosions rocked the enemy fleet, throwing their forces into chaos. The tide of battle began to shift. Despite the setback, General Threx did not give up. He launched a desperate counterattack, sending his fiercest fighters in a brutal assault. The space around the human fleet became a storm of fire and destruction, but Elena and her crew stood firm, using every trick and tactic to hold their ground. The battle raged for hours, each side refusing to yield. Elena felt the weight of the moment. The future of humanity hung in the balance. She drew strength from the stories she had learned, from the courage of those who had faced impossible odds. Before her, she believed that no matter how dark the night, the dawn would come. Finally, with the enemy's forces scattered and their command ships crippled, the aliens began to retreat. The human fleet, battered but victorious, watched as the shadow of their enemy faded into the distance. Cheers erupted across the fleet, but Elena knew this victory came at a cost. Many brave souls had been lost, and the war was not over. As the ships regrouped and tended to their wounded, Elena took a moment to reflect. The alien war hero had mocked humanity once, but now he knew the truth. The human spirit was fierce and unbreakable. The lessons of history had given them strength, and their will to survive had carried them through the darkest battle. Humanity had won this fight, but the galaxy remained a dangerous place. Elena and her crew prepared for what lay ahead, ready to face whatever challenges the future held. The stars shone bright, a reminder that even in the vast darkness, hope could light the way. The battle had finally ended, but the cost was written in every scar on the fleet and in the heavy silence that followed. Commander Elena Drake stood quietly on the bridge of her flagship, watching the stars twinkle cold and distant beyond the viewport. The enemy's retreat had left the space around them littered with the remnants of war, shattered ships, drifting debris, and silent graves where brave souls had fallen. Every loss weighed heavily on her heart, but so did the fierce pride in what humanity had achieved. Against impossible odds, they had stood firm and turned back the storm that threatened to wipe them from the galaxy. As the fleet limped back toward friendly space, Elena reflected on everything they had endured: the overwhelming alien numbers, the deadly weapon they had destroyed, the fierce battles that had tested every ounce of courage and skill. But more than the machines or the firepower, it was the human spirit that had carried them through. She thought of the lessons from Earth's history, the stories of Stalingrad and other moments when people refused to surrender, even when all seemed lost. Those stories had fueled their determination, giving them the strength to fight smarter, harder, and with heart. News spread quickly among the crews that the alien war hero, General Threx, had been seen leaving the battlefield in silence, his pride deeply wounded. For the first time, he had witnessed the strength and resilience of humanity, not as a primitive race to mock, but as a force to respect and fear. The galaxy would remember this war, not just for its destruction, but for the rise of a new power, a species that refused to bow. Despite the victory, the war was not truly over. Elena knew that other alien factions watched closely, some still hostile, some uncertain. Humanity's defiance had shifted the balance of power in the galaxy, and the road ahead was filled with new challenges and dangers. But the humans had changed too. They were no longer the underdogs, the hunted. They were fighters, survivors, and leaders. On Earth and the colonies, celebrations erupted, but they were tempered by mourning. Families grieved those who would never return, yet they found hope in the bravery of their defenders. Elena's voice was heard on every communication channel, inspiring her people to keep standing tall, to rebuild, and to prepare for the future. She spoke of unity, resilience, and the importance of never forgetting the sacrifices made. In the quiet moments after the battle, Elena met with her closest officers to plan the next steps. They discussed how to strengthen defenses, share knowledge gained from the enemy, and build alliances with other races who might now see humanity in a new light. The galaxy was vast and dangerous, but it was also full of opportunity. Humans were ready to claim their place not just as survivors, but as a powerful force of change. The story of humanity's fight spread across the stars, told in the voices of survivors and in the silent monuments of space. It became a symbol of hope for all who faced oppression and danger, and while the scars of war remained, so did the fire of determination, an unbreakable flame that would guide humanity forward. Commander Elena Drake looked out once more at the stars. The war had tested them beyond measure, but it had also revealed who they truly were, fighters with hearts full of courage and minds sharp as any weapon. They had faced the alien war heroes' mockery, had learned from the past, and had shown the galaxy the true strength of humanity. The future was uncertain, but humanity was ready. As the fleet set course for home, the stars seemed a little brighter, the darkness a little less daunting. Humanity's place in the galaxy was no longer a question. It was a promise. And with that promise came hope, strength, and the will to protect all they held dear, no matter the cost. The battle was won, but the story of humanity was only just beginning.